Queen Latifah, uh, Grammy winner, Emmy winner, Golden Globe winner. And recently, by the way, congratulations on being the first female hip hop artist recognized by the Kennedy Center Honors. So, congratulations on that
How about that?
milestone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a really incredible opportunity to be able to connect with you, and with everything that you have going on, including a hit show as well. Why is it that you decided to join the Evolve Small program as an ambassador? What is it that drew you to the project?
I was drawn to the Lenovo Evolve Small project because of small business. I started in small business, started off as a young entrepreneur, myself, my partner, Shakim, my mom. And I know the ups and downs of running a small business and how challenging it can be. And so, something that could support small business people, especially being minorities, being disabled, being from the community, and really needing that leg up, knowing how much we've contributed to, really the economy, how much we've, contributed to bringing back the
Mm.
economy from when it's gone through things, and how still challenging it could be for us to acquire funds to help keep our businesses going. This is a very important thing.
Yeah, it's really crucial. And you mentioned your partner, your business partner, and your mom. I also heard that your grandfather actually owned a hardware store. So it seems like
Oh yeah.
entrepreneurship is in the blood.
It is definitely in the blood. Our family is all about like, uh, kind of hustling and keeping and kind of passing it along as well.
Mm.
So my father, my cousins, my brother, um, a lot of my family members grew up going working in my grandfather's hardware store business, which was started by him and his brothers. And
Mm.
so, learning how to be in a business, how to run a business, how to learn the skills, to be a people person, to deal with the customers, to deal with customer service, to do things on time, just teaches you a lot of things. And so, all those things would kind of come home because everyone didn't get to work in the stores, but
Mhm.
it sort of circulated, and it was almost a rites of passage in my family to kind of work for a little bit of time in my grandfather's hardware store.
Yeah, no, I get that, and that's what small business owners do, right? They make it work, and it's hard for any small business not to be a family business on some level because of how much you have to really invest to make it happen. So when you're thinking about other small business owners, what advice do you have for small businesses across the country, especially now?
I think one of the most important things that small businesses can do, I think this is kind of like the lifeblood of our country, and these are where the creative ideas are born. This is where the things that might not be so huge but are so important to so many people come into play. So holding on to your vision, having a vision, and fighting for your vision is very important because people will kind of tell you along the way that it's not going to work,
Mm.
and you're going to run up against making decisions between whether you might want to eat that day or whether you want to buy something or whether you're going to pay a bill. uh, it's literally that touch and go sometimes when you run in a small business. And sometimes, there will be these kind of lulls in things, and then there'll be these, sort of an ebb and flow, and you kind of have to make it through those times. But it's so important if you can because it's what makes our it's what makes us unique.
Mhm.
Small businesses make us unique. They give us just that thing we need, and then those businesses also grow into larger businesses. So hopefully with success, they grow, they expand, they reach people who didn't expect to be reached. They teach us something new or they bring us right back home, which is something we need sometimes when everything can be so huge
Mm.
that we just need a little special touch. Small businesses add that special touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned something there about being able to recognize businesses that don't always get that visibility. And I know for me, also as someone who's started a business, and your head's down in your business, and so
Mhm.
it's really a special moment and a blessing when someone external recognizes your business. Can Can you speak a little bit about what it's like to be in a program that focuses on minority owned, women owned, or owners that have disabilities, and what that special focus means to you?
Well, it means the world to me. It is me. It is me. It's who I am. I come from a family. I am I'm technically a minority,
Mhm.
and so was my grandfather and his brothers and my grandmother, um, my mom. Starting our business, Flavor Unit Management, which grew into records and entertainment and films and television. Um, but also with real estate, I just know I've seen the determination of Black women in my whole life. And I've also seen us often get the last of the last. So, when it's time to be rewarded for the work that we put in, and recognizing that and, you know, being financed,
Mm,
we're not the first to get those dollars. So it all kind of switches. So we always are in this place of having to struggle. Going around the world, I've seen how challenging it could be for people with disabilities. And so it's here in America, it's very important that we support those with disabilities to make sure things are accessible, that things are easy to use, that we create a language that is easy for those with disabilities to use, uh, because there is gold to be mined everywhere, and we will miss out if we don't support everyone. And we'll also forget. We'll think that, everything has been invented by somebody else and it has not. It's been the
mhm.
invention of people who, necessity is the mother of invention. So there's been a lot of things that have come to fruition because someone needed it. And so they created it. And then someone else took that idea and said, hey, let's make it let's make it in mass.
Mhm.
But it started in some small place from someone who really needed it. So all of us have something to contribute. And so it's really about respecting each other and respecting each other's abilities to, give to the entire culture of our humanity.
Oh, I agree, and when you think about it, you have this process, and you did this for me with your music, with your films. By the way, I did the math, and I counted over 50 films that you've been in, voiced,
Mhm.
live action, all these things, and so you were empowering people individually, millions of people. Now shifting to empowering businesses, it's really important to actually have that scale, right? And to try to find a way to make that happen. And so I want to ask you a little bit about the technology piece. So you recently, well, no, so in particular, you recently told People Magazine that despite your concerns, you see some uses for AI in business and entertainment. Can you share more about that point of view, and especially after working on this project with Lenovo?
Well, it was an honest question, and I think they're honest fears and honest concerns, especially as an actor, um,
Mhm.
especially as an entertainer, as a rapper turned actress, turned businesswoman, turned actress. Your image and your likeness is very crucial. Your voice is important. You spend a lot of time developing that. And so, um, how it's used and the fact that it could be used in a way that is not appropriate, is concerning. However, the technology is the technology and you can't unring the bell. So you have to figure out a way to, uh, we have to figure out a way to obviously protect ourselves, but at the same time, embrace the technology and figure out how we can use it for good. I think this is a way, in the midst of people, running with it in the wrong ways, that we can use it in the right way. So the fact that I can help businesses in totally different cities, totally different countries, even for that matter, promote their small business. It's very hard to get Queen Latifah, into your city with the schedule she has, but to be able to, with technology, do that and support a small business is a great thing. I wish I could have had someone, I've seen many shows and many things throughout the years that I thought, oh, if only we had that then, if only we had that support, if we had that mentorship. Um, we could have been huge in different ways, but we didn't have that at the time. Someone can have that today because of the technology. They can have that mentorship, they can have that support, and they can have an A-list celebrity co-sign their business, which is very important to because they bring their cachet along with that. They bring their eyeballs along with that. And so, um, and these are businesses that, we are choosing that we support. So for instance, Off the Hanger, which is one of the stores in Newark that we supported through Lenovo Evolve Small. I had a show called Rock the Bells, this huge show in August for the 50th anniversary of hip hop. I mean, with LL Cool J and Run DMC and Light and De La Soul and all my heroes. And I came out in a cape that was made by this store, Off the Hanger
Mm.
in Newark, New Jersey. It was a gorgeous cape that went along with what Queen Latifah would rock, and I came out with this look and knocked them dead. And I wouldn't even really have probably connected with that store if it weren't through this initiative. I may have gone past it, of course, because it's in my hometown, but
Mhm.
to connect to that degree and like we spent time in there. Everyone who was with us that day bought things,
Yeah.
returned to the store, caught a vibe in there. It became like, okay, this is a spot. And my sister stole the cape, so, it lives on.
Family, right?
Oh,
Family.
yeah, she was like, "Oh, I gotta have that." So it went off my hanger to off to her to her hanger. Um, but it was a gorgeous cape, and it was, like, something that really popped off for the audience, and this was something that hopefully brought more attention to the store and this great designer, and these 2 great designers who own the store. So it's really, you don't have to think so big about how things need to be. It's really a personal touch sometimes that can turn into, a groundswell sort of thing that turns into a big movement, if you will. Movements kind of start small and they turn into a big thing, but it's really important just to connect in that way.
Mm. Yeah, it's and when I think about the connections that you have to people, you're in front of millions of people on a TV show, consistently on movies, but actually want to tell you hi from Aaron, from 321 Coffee. Uh but
Hey,
yeah,
that was
he's
cool.
what really struck me, after hearing back from the team after the video shoot that you did, was the care that you took to get to know everybody on the set, and really spend time with them on a human to human level. And
Yeah.
for Aaron, that was his first flight. It was a moment for a lot of reasons, but even to this day, he just beams and
Aw.
talking about that experience and your uh just connection, authentic connection,
Mhm.
right?
Well, I think this is a time when we really look for authentic connection, and that was like it was impossible to avoid. It was amazing, and I felt honored to be a part of it. And he did a great job that day. It's like we go to work really hard. And I'll tell you a funny thing that happened when I was considering this opportunity as well. There's so many different tech companies. So many places to be connected to, and these are things that I pondered as I thought about this opportunity and this relationship. And I was going to my cleaners and take where I always take my special capes and other things.
Yeah.
And I was on the phone with my partner Shakem, and I walked in there, and they greeted nicely by the people that always work there warmly. And I looked, and I saw Lenovo products on that countertop. They were taking my order with Lenovo, and I said, "Okay, there it is." It's literally that simple. I just got the message that this is where we are because this is my cleaners. They do an amazing job. Um, I know everyone in here. They always greet me warmly, just like everyone else who comes here
Mhm.
out who's not famous. Um, I watch this woman who's here hand stitch and hand sew things in this little window they have. They take care of Oscar gowns and, Golden Globe things and Image Award clothes. And you think of it, um, the one, the makeup I may get in something that's God knows if when I'll wear it again. They take care of all these things, but they take care of it with Lenovo technology. And I said, this is amazing. I have to do this, because this is one of my favorite businesses. It's a small business and they can use this support,
Mhm.
so it was kind of a no-brainer. Good
Yeah,
job.
well, but it's amazing how those things work out. And going back to the AI piece for a minute. So the 321 Coffee team. So they
Mhm.
work with people with intellectual differences and
Right.
disabilities. And one of the things that we partnered with them on was their roasting facility and making sure that we actually use some AI technology to make it more accessible
Right.
so that the routine of going through what could be a really grueling process to actually roast coffee. There's big
Mhm.
bags they got to carry. There's big machines, but we were able to work with them and also work with a software company to do some custom AI work to make that process work for that group of baristas and roasters that are part of that company. And so, like you said, there are there are always things to be cautious about with technology.
Mhm.
But when you're in the mindset of how can this positively impact someone, it makes a huge difference.
Right.
And when it comes from you, it's amplified that much more, which is a special part of the program. When you look forward, are there other things, other technological advances or just innovations that you're thinking about in next year and beyond?
Well, I did see a car drive past me today with no driver in it. I thought that was Um, yeah, when they make, someone who's going to carry me to set. Just kidding. Um, honestly, I guess anything that is makes it safer and easier for the next generation as well as older folks to be able to use. I think older folks want to stay connected. They want to stay, but they don't want it to be so complicated that they can't use it. One of the toughest things is, hearing, oh, technology hates me or tech hates me. You know, I just think we haven't bridged the gap.
Mhm.
We need to come, closer to, I mean, they put in the work. My grandmother should not have to figure out how to use anything. It should actually
Mhm.
it should make itself more available to her. So any sort of technology, any sort of AI that makes it a bit easier, in a safe way for those who are older to stay connected, to keep their vitality in life, and for younger people to be connected, to be protected. I'm fascinated and always curious about what are we going to do to protect them, to protect their young minds, to protect their mental health, to make them stronger, because they have to take over. And to make sure they still have fun. Life is supposed
Mhm.
to be fun. So one of the cool things about what you do is gaming with your child. Being able to find safe ways and fun ways to game and to enjoy tech. Without having to worry. Because I, as a parent, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, what? I'm always kind of watching out. I'm talking to my sister who also has young kids, and how she has to kind of stay on it and be protective. And so we have to look out. We have to make sure that we stay protective of the younger generation, and yet allow them all the freedom in the world, because they're going to think of things that we will never think of,
Mhm.
because they're going to use it more than we are, and they're going to grow up using it. And so it'll be second nature to them. So I'm really more curious and fascinated uh, about what is going to be invented and how AI is going to be used in the cool ways, not the dystopian ways or the movies that we've seen, growing up. We know that's all possible, and and that's a real thing. However, what we don't know is what is really going to happen, and what's really going to happen is based on what people create. So I,
Mhm.
I tend not to want to live from a place of fear. I want to go with the optimistic ways, the more positive view on things, because
Mhm.
we already know what the other side can do. But what can we do to change that? What can we do in a positive way? How can we move forward? I didn't get this way thinking like that.
Well, let's go back a little bit and talk about your small business journey. I think it would be great to understand, your experience in building a business, really building multiple businesses, also as a woman of color, and what are there some challenges that you had to overcome in your process?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the first thing you have to do in the world, the way it's been set up, is it hasn't been not especially here in America, hasn't been favorable to people of color, let alone women of color. In the more patriarchal society, and we've had obviously this we have the history we have. Um, this country was built on free labor, mostly from African slaves, and so we have that in our history, uh, and all of us have that shared history, not just Black people. So we have to move beyond what that is. So the first thing is to dream. The first thing is to be able to dream freely, to be able to dream, to think of ideas, and then to let those ideas flourish before we let this systemic racism or classism or any of that infiltrate our dreams or our thoughts. The first thing to do is to dream, and then to have these goals and to still keep those things from infiltrating, and then to find allyship, to find like-minded people who want to move in the same direction, and who get it, and so that's always the challenge. um but we're overcomers, and we're going to do it. We
Yeah.
will do it. And so I think by having I've been very fortunate to come from the family I come from, which is a big family, and I've gotten to learn the ups and downs, the good, the bad, all in my family before I even got a chance to get into the world. And then also, kind of finding someone who had a lot of opposites. So my partner Shakim has a lot of things that I, you know, not that I don't have, but his strengths are, he has more strengths, and he's definitely business minded. He's more strategic. Is more grounded in place, whereas I'm in the world. I'm fascinated by so many things. I can connect with so many different kinds of people on so many different levels, and I'm not really afraid of anything, or I'm not afraid to travel any places. I've always considered myself a global citizen, and I've always thought that way. So it's allowed me to sort of for us to create these ideas, and then I go out there, and then he goes out there in the business world and tries to make it happen, and then we meet in the middle and discuss both things. And my mother has been the angel on our both of our shoulders, saying, "Go get it, do it, you can do it." Our biggest cheerleader. Um, and so it's important to have those things. It's important to have people who believe in you, and it's important to believe in yourself when people don't. Again, back to small businesses, a lot of people will not believe in you in holding on to that vision. You have to hold on to this vision, especially when you're like 21 years old, 20 years old, 23 years old, 19 years old. Who is thinking that you're going to accomplish all these things except for you? You're thinking
Mhm.
you can do this, and maybe some other people are thinking you can do this. But when you're from our community, you often don't have the legacy of that, where it's passed on from generation to generation to generation, and it's a normal thing to inherit some finances to play with, to have the freedom to move around, dream, fail, get up, try something else, fail, and have the cushion. We haven't historically had that sort of cushion in the same
Mhm.
way. So we are still developing, still trying to create and do those things. Um, and so it requires a lot more of us. But we've been doing it, and we're going to continue to do it. But when we can get help, when we can get support, we need that, and we should have that, because we've contributed so much. We've created so much, and we've given so much. So, that's what we would expect in return, but it's not something we've historically been able to rely on. So what we do have is imagination, dream, capability. We can do all these things, and we have the ability to pass it on. So whenever I
Yeah.
open up a door, my job is to leave that door cracked open for the next person to come through. And they have to push through it on their own way, in their own style. But I have to leave the door open. I'm not to close that door because we're not starting from scratch again. You know,
Well,
um,
yeah, and I think that's the power of you being first, but not being only, right? It's like,
oof,
you've opened some pathways that I think a lot of us have been able to run through in our own ways, but But I appreciate the fact that you're not trying to be the only one, right? You're trying to make a path for other people. And I even think about, I even draw some parallels between Evolve Small and, you know, you and your team finding Naughty by Nature, like finding,
Mhm.
you identified maybe entertainers that were earlier in their journey than you were, and you created that path. And I think if we can do that together for businesses, that's a really powerful thing.
Yes, I could quite could agree, and it's not even that I've identified or we've identified something, someone who's even younger than us. It might
Mm,
be someone who we've already seen who just hasn't had that opportunity.
mm,
And when
mm,
we get an opportunity to be in place to support, then we already know that there's someone there who's been doing it for years who we really should look out for, who really needs this break to really show the world what they can do. That's all they needed all this time. And maybe we become the linchpin, for them.
mm,
So I do agree that that's it's a great thing. And even listening to your story when I learned that you wanted to know how a computer was built, that just reminds me of my brother. I mean, everything my brother got. Here's a radio, take it apart. That's the first
yeah.
thing he would do is take everything apart and put it back together. Take it apart and put it back together. And so, there's this curiosity, again, the capability it developed. He loved to play chess. It just he
Mm,
take apart the cars. He just needed to know how things worked, and I followed his lead. So I may appear to be the leader in so many ways, but I've had so many people who've led me, who've been in leadership positions before me and showed me you can do anything, Dana. You
mhm,
can anything is possible. Just believe in it. Just stick to it. Just follow through. Finish things. Don't just kind
mm,
of start things and leave them unfinished. You have to finish, because then you'll be able to do that again and again and again, and be ready to fail. Now get up.
mm,
Okay, that didn't work out. We tried it. That didn't work. Let's get back up and try something else. And this is no different than one of our businesses. If they want to try to make a certain type of cookie, is it going to work? It may work, it may not. But you try it. You try it. Just like we try certain records, certain ideas. Musically, they may work. You may have some misses, but then you get a hit. So
mhm,
this is what we do. And so once you get in a habit of perseverance, which is failing and getting up and failing and trying again, then you become durable. You know how to persevere, and you don't so much worry about everything all the time. You're concerned about things and you
mhm,
deal with it, but you don't you're not always worried because somehow you're gonna get up and try again. Some little thing is gonna bring you back to the center, when you're like doing this, which is what anyone who owns a small business is is always gonna feel like this sometimes. But then we come back and we find ourselves and we dust ourselves off and we try it again, and we find our successes. So, that's my hope is that my involvement in any of the small businesses will be involved in helps them to gain the type of success that they, I'm sure, deserve.
mm. Yeah, and just to kind of wrap up on a thought, um, why should a small business get involved with the Lenovo Evolve Small initiative? What's that reason, right? Because again, they have limited hours in the day and always wearing multiple hats. So why make that step?
Why not make a step to a company that's specifically thinking about you and what you endure, what you're going to go through, rather than you can get lost in big places. But when there's someone who's specifically saying, I'm thinking about you and how you are going to succeed, I'm thinking about you, who you are, not who I want you to be, but you as your small business and what you need. A step up here, some help here, and maybe a little mentorship, and you got this. It's really about let me create something that is for you. Let me help you do what you do great. And so that's why I think I wanted to be involved. that's what I think is great about Lenovo is that they sort of tailor make things for those of us who are starting small businesses and trying to rise and grow, and really are thinking about us. Someone who goes to sleep and wakes up not thinking too big, but actually thinking small in the biggest way. How
Mm.
can it be great for small business in a big way? And I think that's what Lenovo does, and that's what makes me want to be involved.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the energy and the passion that you put into this partnership. There's so many people whose lives are changing, while we're sleeping, before we wake up in the morning. Things are still moving, and just having your support and participation has meant the world to our whole team, to thousands of small businesses out there. So I really appreciate it. So thank you for all
Uh,
you do.
Lenovo, Lenovo.